Dr. Steve Moysey.
Don't worry, this is not War and Peace, it's in 20 font, because I can't read it without my glasses. Thank you, the organizers, for inviting me today, for everybody for showing up and being here. It was a pleasure to be back in South Carolina. I love coming to South Carolina. Some friends and I come here once a year to pursue our Second Amendment rights with some of your wildlife, and we really enjoy that. Today, when Lauren and Joe asked me to come and speak today, because of my work with Gun Owners Action League, they said, well, why don't you talk about the Second Amendment? I'm like, okay. I'm talking to a group of people from South Carolina who know a lot about guns. You know, and when I normally talk about the Second Amendment up in Massachusetts, I'm doing, you're wrong, these are the facts. So, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm actually going to give you a little bit of a perspective in terms of what it's like from a scarcity point of view to not have firearms, and then put that into perspective to where we are today with our Second Amendment. But before I go on, you can probably tell from my accent I'm not from South Carolina. Correct. I'm not even from North Carolina or South Boston. I'm actually from England. I'm from London. And a brief funny story. I'm a very active shooter in terms of sport shooting. I do International Defensive Pistol Association, IDPA. Anybody knows about that, just let me know. I'm one of the 2 trainers up in Massachusetts that does that. And so I'm standing at the gun club I'm a member of. The match is about to start. I've got my Glock 35 on my hip. I've got spare mags everywhere. And this guy, and I'm chatting to about half a dozen of my friends, and this guy walks up to me, and I've never seen him before, and he says, what the hell? There's a guy who sounds like Piers Morgan doing it at a gun club. You can imagine the half a dozen heads that all turned around and looked at him. And I did give him an explanation, but you're all nice, polite people, so I won't repeat it. But I'm going to give you a little brief sort of history of why I'm here today talking to you. I came to the United States 22 years ago on the behest of Her Majesty's government. Now, those of you who have served know what a behest is, don't you? It's like, what do you think of Boston, Massachusetts? Greatest place on God's green earth, sir. Right answer, because you're going there. So I was sent for 2 years, and 2 years became 3, and 3 years became 4. Then I realized something had happened to me. I'd fallen in love with America. With the American people, and a feeling that you could do anything you wanted to do if you applied yourself, worked hard, and used your God-given talents to actually make it, you know, the American dream work. So things progressed. I became a legal immigrant, where it was the people are talking about illegal immigrants. I got a green card, and then in 2006, I went through one of the most, how can I put it, the most arduous processes I've ever been through to actually become a US citizen. And so in 2006, I became a proud American by choice. Thank you. And my friends actually say, well, he's a proud American by choice and conviction. So that's another thing. So, you know, I went to this auditorium, I got sworn in with 978 other people. You know, I swear allegiance to the flag. And the traumatic thing was I had to throw my green card in this big cardboard box. I'm like, what if I get sick? Anyway. And so I got my naturalization paperwork and I rushed to the post office. I got my mugshot taken. And I filled in all the paperwork and I send it off to the passport authority, and I sit at home waiting for my passport to show up. And there it is, you know, rip it open, I pull it out. And you know, it's a little disappointing because it's the same shape as my British passport. It's the same thickness, it's the same format, but it's a different color because it's blue and my British passport is red. But then I looked at it in a little bit more detail, and I read 2 things on the passports that really made it stand out for me what it means to be an American. My British passport declared me to be a subject of Her Majesty. My American passport declared me to be a citizen of the United States. Now, as a proud American, I naturally wanted to enjoy all the rights and privileges afforded to me by that position. So I went down to the police station, and I, having been around firearms most of my adult life, either professionally or sporting-wise, I went down to the police station and said, "Can I get a gun license, please?" And the licensing officer slid all this paperwork at me and said, "Fulfill all these requirements and we'll think about it." Think about it? This is not good. So I started to realize that there are people, individuals, groups, and organizations that really wanted to deny me my right to have a firearm. Don't forget, I'm in Massachusetts here. And they were talks of banning guns, registering guns, registering licenses. This made me very uncomfortable because it was so reminiscent of the UK, where through a systematic process, basically they disarmed all the subjects in the UK. And that was, with some tragic events like Hungerford and Dunblane. But it was sad because when you look at the history of the UK, and this is where I'm getting into the part about what it's like to not have guns, back in the 1900s, the Marquis of Salisbury, the Prime Minister at the time, said his biggest dream was to have a rifle in every cottage, a rifle in every house, and a marksman behind it. Sounds a bit like Switzerland to me, but with social changes at the end of World War I, with what had happened in Russia and things of that nature, the British establishment started going, I'm not so sure it's a good idea to have all these people armed. So very slowly they started disarming the British people. Now, I'm a psychologist, so I'm going to give you a psychological example of what this means. If any animal rights people are watching, this is not a real experiment, it's just an idea, all right? Because it's called the boiling frog principle. If you get a pot of boiling water and you take a frog and you drop the frog, I've never done this, by the way, all right? No frogs were hurt in this particular example. You drop him in, the frog will jump out. He says, "I'm not staying in there, it's too hot." You put the frog in a pot of room temperature water, you can turn the heat up on him and he'll sit there quiet. "Oh, it's not too bad. It's not too bad." No. Then it gets to the point where the frog doesn't have the energy to jump out of the water and you cook him and you kill him. That's exactly what they did to the British people. Just turned up the heat slowly, took away their guns. Problem. Now, World War II comes along, all right? And the British Expeditionary Forces lost most of their weapons evacuating from Dunkirk. And you have a country that's ill-equipped to defend itself. Now, you've got the British Army, poorly equipped, backed up by the Home Defence Force. You heard about the Home Defence Force, World War II? Colloquially known as Dad's Army, because it was populated by people too old, too young, or too flat-footed to actually be in the real service. Now, these guys were armed with like pitchforks, sharpened sticks, carving knives stuck on the end of a broom handle, or the odd shotgun, because farmers were excluded from the draft. And I know quite a bit about this because both my grandfathers were in the Home Guard, and a bunch of my farmer friends I used to shoot with and hunt with were in the Home Guard. And here's a sense of what it's like to be unarmed or disarmed. My farmer friend Jack, after a few pints of beer in a pub on a Sunday, said to me, here's what it was like. Now, he was in charge of a little troop in a village of Home Guard volunteers. It was a full moon. It was during the height of the invasion alert. And Jack said, "Okay, we're going to go on patrol again as usual. Here's my double-barreled shotgun," and he gives it to a World War I veteran. And he said, "And here's the last 6 shotgun cartridges we have in the village. Everybody else had a stabbing weapon, a pitchfork or whatever. And they all had whistles." So off they go on the patrol, it's moonlit. And they're waiting for a whistle blow or something. And Jack said, "If you hear a whistle, either run towards it or run like hell away from it." Now, they're out and everybody's really tense. And Jack said to me, all of a sudden I heard boom, boom. Oh my God, the Germans are coming. So they run like hell and this guy's blowing the whistle. And they get to the village green and there's this gentleman, shotgun in one hand, 2 rabbits in the other. Look what I got. And Jack's going, "Oh God. 4 shotgun shells between us and the Germans.